importance of school meals in this scenario could never have been underestimated. However, what has happened all over the world is that this program has taken a huge hit to the detriment of the long-term development and the long-term health of a whole generation of children who were benefiting from it. I know that in my country, which is India, where I'm speaking from at the moment, school meals have actually provided, in some cases, the single meal that a child was able to get in the day. So given the intensity of this pandemic and the huge effect it had on school meals, I think it's really important for us to focus on how it is that we in Asia have managed or not managed to deal with the challenges that the pandemic has forced upon us. For that, I would first of all invite Ms. Renuka, with her vast experience, to share with us the challenge of what has happened in Sri Lanka with the school meals program, especially the valiant effort that Sri Lanka made in opening the schools, trying to run the school meals program, and then the schools had to be shut again. And given this scenario, what is it that you'd like for us to know about your program, the challenges, and how you were able to overcome the obstacles, and what lessons there are for the other countries? So, Ms. Renuka, as Mamta said, you'll have a space of about 12 minutes to be speaking, and then we'll go on to the next speaker. So, Ms. Renuka, could I ask you to please come on? I think the sharing screen arrangement will be taken care of. Thank you.
Good morning to all. And in generally, the program for the improved school nutrition status of school children are carried out under the umbrella term School Health Promotion Program in Sri Lanka. The vision of the School Health Promotion Program is healthy and active younger generation. And this, under the our programs, we have already identified some objectives. The minimize the nutrition problems among school children, inculcate good dietary habits, promote healthy habits, produce a productivity citizen to the country through building national food culture, guide students to consume a balanced diet. These are our objectives under the nutrition program. We have different programs. The one is a school meal program, school milk program, nutrition awareness program through the school curriculum, and nutrition awareness program as a co-curricular activities. And already we introduced school canteen policy. Next. And already we identified our strategies and provide with that COVID-19 situation, and we provide a nutrition package for school children who are benefiting under the school meal program. And already we introduced a Chandi Bandi nutrition awareness program, especially for the primary grade students and teachers and parents, and try to change their dietary habits, and introduce online nutrition certificate course for grade 6 to 13 students, and conducted art competition among students. Why we think about like that? Because we want to think about their nutrition needs, and same times we need to think about how we improve their nutrition knowledge and how we change their behaviors. Next. If I explain the nutrition package, already we have some objective as a safety measure to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Schools in the country were closed most of the time this year, because one time we started, again with the situation we closed. The meal program was temporarily hold as a safety regulation provided by Ministry of Health. Therefore, Ministry of Education has modified our school meal program, and we change our strategies and identified we can provide nutrition package for students through principals for their homes. And what include in the package? The rice flour noodle, summer posha, that means the dried cereal, and eggs, coffee, and biscuits. Because that is, we think about the nutrition value as well as the student behaviors and what they like it. And already we covered all students, what who they benefited from the school meal program. And secondly, we think about all students at the home, and sometimes they haven't any activities to do it. Especially the primary grades, means the grade 1 and 2 students, because the example students, they are working and they're learning different activities. But especially grade 1 and 2 students, very small kids, they haven't any activity. That's why we introduce child-friendly intervention like Child Chandi Bandi. That's a story book, and distribute to all students. And also, it has a exercise package also. Then they can first they can learn that story book. Then after that, they can answer the question. And also, it has another activity, the daily what they eat, and they can mention it. Then after that, they can identify the healthy items and as well as the unhealthy items, and they can change their behaviors. And that's a storybook already we distributed in Sinhala, Tamil, and English, in the 3 languages, and they can study it. And they can share with others. Also, they can get the idea from the parents, motivate. That's a motivation story, include through life's experience. Next. And already we think about the grade 6 to 11 students, especially grade 6 to 9, because grade 10 and 11, that's examination related classes, but grade 6 to 9, that's the secondary grades, but they haven't any some courses or packages, study packages. Then we introduce online course for them. That's the 6 separate chapters are there. Then after every chapter, it has exercise. They can answer it and get the marks. How much they get from the paper. And if we complete that exercise, it's the expected level, then they can get certificate through the net, and they can follow it. So another nutrition certificate course we introduced in COVID-19 period. Another one is art competition for primary, junior secondary, and senior secondary students. We work with nutrition. In Sri Lanka, we have the Nutrition Society, and we work with them and introduce this art competition. That's a Nutrica, and there's a theme was mindful eating for a healthy nation. And we tried to change promote the use of safe and good quality food among the school children by sharing their dietary behaviors, and disseminate nutrition knowledge and promote healthy dietary behaviors. And we conducted already, and we completed that activity, and already we selected best arts from the student. And because of with the COVID-19 period, some of them submitted to the net, and some of them posted. And there's a collaboration effort with the Nutrition Society, means the non-government organization. Next. And next one, because that's mind already mentioned the mindful eating for a healthy nation. That is our theme, and already we conducted with all schools and the private schools, international schools. Everybody have a chance to submit their challenge talent. Next one. And next one, I think before the opening the schools, we give our attention how we ensure health, safety environment. And we identify some special areas, hand washing station at the entrance and sick rooms and the sanitization of the environment. As special, we give our attention to that. And because earlier the 10% of schools, they had a sick room, but we provided facilities for all schools and ensure that all schools, they have a sick room. And hand washing station also the same, because the inside the school they have hand washing stations, but at entrance they haven't. Then we provided hand washing station facilities as well as the support for them, and establish and ensure the all schools very safely, and the student can enter to school and learn and without any restriction. And in that period, we conducted 2 national examinations, the grade 5 scholarship exam as well as the GCE advanced level examination. And in that time also, we give our special attention for healthy and safety environment, and provided meal for if some students need it, and also ensure the environment safety. And already we completed our A-level examination as well as the grade 5 scholarship exam, and already we conducted paper marking for grade 5, and we are ready to conduct A-level examination paper marking. This is the situation, and but this is not a Ministry of Education only worked and introduced these things. Always we work with other ministries, means especially Ministry of Health and Transport Ministry and all relevant ministries, as well as the UN agencies and the NGOs, and everybody supported us and provided different facilities for the schools. That's why we conducted different activities in that period. And especially, I think the third term will start on 23rd of November. But however, it's closed already. We have the alternatives. That's different learning packages we provide to students, and nutrition packages also we will provide to the students. I think these are the experience in Sri Lanka, and we have with the COVID-19 situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Renuka. It is fascinating to see how much you've been able to achieve and how well you have addressed the challenges and used so many innovative methods and so many partnerships to make that happen that you've managed to do. I'm sure there'll be many questions and many people will want to know a lot more. But before we come back to those questions, may I now invite Mr. Karma from Bhutan to explain to us how they have dealt with the COVID challenge. Although it is true that one of the countries that has really managed all this very well has been Bhutan. And Bhutan, in any case, has a very unique and very powerful school feeding program. It has always been an inspiration for us in the neighborhood countries, as well as for the world, to see how well Bhutan has managed to take care of the little children in the boarding schools and provide them not one, but in some cases 3 meals a day. So it would be very interesting for us to hear from Mr. Karma, from that beautiful land where he's sitting now, which is practically free of COVID as we understand, to tell us how they have managed while the world is coping with this raging pandemic to keep their country and their children happy and healthy. So, Mr. Karma, over to you.
Thank you, Dipaji, and especially Mamtaji. Can you all hear me? Hello.
Yes, yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you for your opportunity, especially Mamtaji. And I kept my presentation very short. So I was told that we'll be just given, I think, 10 minutes to 12 minutes. So yesterday I had almost a very similar presentation with the Rosa in Nepal. And so it was a little lengthy. So I shortened my presentation. So basically, as Mamtaji introduced, I am Karma Wangchuk. I work as a Chief Program Officer in the School Health and Nutrition Division here in Bhutan. So just to go back to brief history about the COVID in our country. So the first case that we had was in sometimes in March, 5th March. So then by the 6th March, we had to close the schools, especially in the capital city and the neighboring districts. Then later on, we thought that things would not turn out to be good. So on 7th March, we closed the schools further in the neighboring districts. So on the 18th March, so we closed all the schools throughout the kingdom. So then the numbers, like any other countries, so started increasing because our country and His Majesty brought all the Bhutanese who want to come back to Bhutan from the Middle East, then from some other countries. So normally it's, I like to share that it's not because we had a community transmission in our country, it's because we had our fellow citizens coming from other countries. So as of today, as of yesterday, we had around 359 confirmed cases actually. So it's, as I said earlier, it's not the community transmission. And we just have 21 active cases right now. So we have recovered around, as of yesterday, 338. So as Deepaji clearly mentioned, we are one of the happiest country. Not that we had a COVID, but we did not have any death cases. So till now, we have zero death cases actually in our country. And the few responses that we did during the pandemic. So, so after the COVID outbreak, in the March, so Food Corporation of Bhutan, who stocks the stockpile of ration for the entire nation, so they were instructed by the Royal Government of Bhutan and His Majesty to stock the ration. So we were informed through the communication that on 2nd May, that they have stockpile ration for 6 months to last for whole nation, I mean whole citizens actually, and especially for those needy people, including the children actually, including the children. So His Majesty granted the ration actually for them actually. So you can see in the pictures, and especially for the so as for those needy children, the ration is already granted by His Majesty. So WFP, along with the Minister of Education, we initiated a good food hygiene pyramid, and we have sent out to all the schools actually. And especially during the pandemic was in full swing. When pandemic was in full swing, the government encouraged especially the domestic cultivation of vegetables, and it was a huge success. And today, although we get some vegetables from India, unlike those days, the bulk chunk of our vegetable comes from the India. So today we have a homegrown organic vegetables actually. Then so again, we have unemployed youth in the country, for which our government initiated something called a Build Bhutan project. So to engage themselves actually, and especially to have the continuity of learning among our children, the Royal Government of Bhutan and the Ministry of Education initiated online learning, and something very interesting, the self-instructional materials for those children who are in the far-flung places actually. And basically now our way forward. So from we have opened all the schools from class 9 to 12. from the September, and especially those children who are in the high risk zone, especially in the southern belt, we brought them to the interior part of the country, and they are now accommodated as the boarding students. So they are served with the 3 meals. So, and we have around 4 schools which are relocated from the southern belt high risk zone. So in addition, considering the importance of the sanitary pads for our girls, so our government and His Majesty provides with the support from the donor agencies, provides the sanitary pads to our children actually. And for those relocated children, so considering the need of the import and of the nutrition, so they receive a fortified rice and fortified oil along with the other boarding children. And today schools are fully functional, almost like a normal, but they follow a very, very strict health protocol, like wearing a face masks, then they have a hand washing stations. So almost all the schools, they have the hand washing stations and the social distancing. So with the cold, the winter approaching in our country, so all the districts administration, they are ready for the winter, the cold winter, because our schools will continue till the March. It's throughout the whole winter. It will be very cold actually. And so lastly, and very importantly, the inspiration, our main inspiration is from our His Majesty actually. And he is one of the men, the God sent man for the Bhutanese, and he is a frontline worker right now. And so because of him, we are free of COVID, we are free of any death from the COVID. And it's fortunate, as Deepaji and the Rinokaji mentioned earlier. So Bhutan is one of the most fortunate country among many countries. So, so we are still working on how to go about, and His Majesty is one of our greatest inspiration. So thank you, Deepaji. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Karma. It's just through you that I feel that I'm almost visiting that beautiful country and reliving the moments that we had when we saw the schools in Bhutan, when we did the forum for school meals in your beautiful country in Thimphu, and had the opportunity in Paro, and had the opportunity to go to see so many schools and see the wonderful work you're doing. Please convey our fondest regards and compliments to His Majesty for the leadership, and to all of you for having dealt with the pandemic with so much grace and so much efficiency and keeping your country protected. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And I'll now take this opportunity to request our next speaker to share with us the experiences. Can you hear me? Have I gone off? So thank you,
Yes.
Karma. You can
Yes,
actually await the next round, when we'll be inviting you again to address the questions that will come, I'm sure, from many people. And we'll now request our next speaker to present the experiences that she has so kindly agreed to share with us. So now can I request Dr. Uma
Yes.
to present?
Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, and thank you very much for 2 wonderful presentations, which I managed already to see. It's very, very interesting to see and to learn from the experience of neighboring countries, how you are dealing in such a difficult situation for all of us. I will try to share my screen right now. Okay. Here. Yes, and I hope you see my presentation now. My name is Uma Kandalaeva, and I'm working as a country director for Mercy Corps operations in Kyrgyzstan and in Tajikistan. And today I'm happy to share experience of Mercy Corps implementing a MAG Governor Dole Food for Education program in Kyrgyzstan. Mercy Corps is, oops, I'm trying to, no. Next slide. I'm not sure how, oh, oops, yes. Mercy Corps is a global non-government, international non-government entity, which have operation in more than 40 countries across the globe. But in Asia region, we are active in 13 countries in Asia: Afghanistan, Georgia, India, Indonesia, Kyrgyzstan, Mongolia, Myanmar, Nepal, Pakistan, Tajikistan, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and Uzbekistan. This is our operation as of now. And in each of the country, we as an international agency trying to address different needs based on the assessment we are doing in the countries, including humanitarian emergency, economic opportunity, climate change actions, public health, as well as food and water securities and governance. In Kyrgyzstan, we are implementing, Mercy Corps is implementing McGovern Dole Food for Education program, which is funded by US Department of Agriculture for last decades. And you see pictures of Kyrgyz children, primary school students who are our primary beneficiaries for this program for many years. Mercy Corps, having this honor to have a portfolio from US Department of Agriculture implementing this program in a partnership with the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health across the country for last, since 2002. But I would like to share recent experience, how we managed to adopt the program during the last 6 months time period, which related to COVID pandemic in the country. Just a few general information about the program. Then program is a very comprehensive, multi-components, having hot meals with behavior change, capacity building of our partners, infrastructure improvement of the schools we are targeting. And one of the very important component we have is the literacy promotion among primary grade students. Some key results from last few years, we managed to distribute more than 2,200 metric tons of humanitarian food commodities donated by the USDA through Mercy Corps to the countries. With these food commodities, more than 105,000 students are getting a hot meal on a daily basis at the schools. And for today, we are covering 510 public schools across the country. We are working in public schools only, and Kyrgyzstan, being one of the former Soviet Union republics, still have a very sort of Soviet type of health education structure in the country, where public education is free of charge for all the Kyrgyz citizens. This is excellent structure, but it's due to the financial constraints and economic constraints in a country, it is a very serious burden to the national budget. And Mercy Corps is helping to the Ministry of Education to achieve this serious goal on providing nutrition hot meals for primary grade students every day at schools. We were doing it for so many years successfully, and we included more and more schools at the annual basis with a recommendation to the Ministry of Education. But when March of this year happened, and COVID era begins, Kyrgyzstan faced this very, very serious constraint with the first wave of COVID pandemic. And from March, Kyrgyzstan went to the complete of national lockdown period. From the beginning of March, all schools were closed across the country, and all students were stuck at home with restriction of movement introduced across the country. Unfortunately, in July, peak of the COVID pandemic hit Kyrgyzstan so severely that it ranked on the first place in the world with the highest number of deaths from COVID-19. Very unfortunately, it gives a serious constraints to the public health system in the country, to the economic of the country. And of course, the Ministry of Education feels the pressure of closing all the schools from the last quarter of the school year, and all students were studying remotely from houses, online through the public TV classes and online classes from March till May, when school year was sort of going on online. Summer school break, traditional summer school breaks was seriously affected as well because of the still very high peak of COVID outbreaks across the country, restriction of movement introduced to the country, and epidemiological situation remain very serious. Then most of the schools remain closed for the beginning of new school year, which started in September of this year. Ministry of Education decided that only first grade students would be allowed to go to the reopened schools with all the sanitary measures, including school must reach all the minimum sanitary standards, but it's only for first grade students, and the rest of the students continue their education remotely. Meaning then September, also we don't see really a lot of changes with return to the students to the school year, and which pushed us to continue adaptation of our traditional Food for Education program, which we had an experience for many previous years. And I just want to make sure that you see few of the adaptation changes which we managed to implement during this time period. In March, where this last quarter of the school year was still undergoing, we had more than 300 metric tons of remaining food commodities in the stock, which are supposed to be contributing to the hot meals at schools, but schools are closed and commodities remain in the stock. With the collaboration of the Ministry of Education, we agreed then we're gonna prepare and allow this commodity to be taken as a take-home ration to the students to the families of the primary grade students. And Ministry of Education, being our primary partner and supporter on this idea, took over all the related costs for repackaging and distribution of the commodities to 74,000 families of primary grade students. Normally, we are having very routine, regular monitoring visits of our trained team members and providing thematic workshops and supportive supervision visits to the school administration as well as school cooks, which we adopted because of the restriction of movement, because of schools remain closed. We adjusted all these thematic workshops on online format. And you see a photo where our trained staff providing online thematic long distance sessions to the school administration. And all of around 400 online sessions were provided only during April and May time period, where schools were closed and school administration and teachers were working online. Very serious component of our program is dedicated to the capacity building of school cooks. And normally every summer we're using the summer break period for the schools, where we engaged school cooks into continuing education with the local vocational training schools, where local vocational schools are preparing special refresh programs for the school cooks who are coming and spending 2 to 4 weeks on mastering of their skills, as well as getting additional knowledge related to the essential child nutrition information. What to do during the summer period where COVID is going on, COVID cases are going on up, schools are closed, and restriction of movement and quarantine time introduced across the country. We basically talk to our partners at vocational schools and ask them to digitalize their lessons, and we help them to prepare video classes, video lessons, facilitate the Zoom and WhatsApp platform to still make sure that we are reaching all the school cooks with online classes. And we targeted 85 school cooks who just joined this profession, who've been recently appointed to the schools on this particular specialty, and they went through the online session during the August period, preparing for the increase of technical knowledge and technical skills. One of the very serious component of the program, which we are putting more and more emphasis every year, is the social behavior change, where we are engaging into intensive communication, family members and community members of our primary target group as primary grade students. We have the cohort of so-called change agents who are basically trained community mobilizers who were going around the community members with the household messages and meetings done in a small groups with parents, grandparents, and other community members. That was very effective and very much engaging. We managed to engage community members and parents, first of all, into very essential nutrition information, which are important to be continuing not only at school level, but at the family level as well. What to do during COVID time? We managed to establish a number of WhatsApp groups with each of the community and share the same messages and materials through the online platforms. And you see the photo when we reach parents and community leaders via WhatsApp messages, via WhatsApp videos, and people were very excited. Then during the lockdown period, international agencies reaching them with these messages and caring about their nutritional status of their children. That was absolutely well received from our beneficiary side. Also, with our previous experience disseminating a lot of printout materials with very colorful, easy to read and easy to understand brochures and leaflets on child nutrition main messages. What we did a short animation videos and disseminated them across WhatsApp, a WhatsApp group and Facebook. I'm not sure if I'll be able, oh yeah. So very simple way which we develop these videos and disseminate. It was on a Facebook page, it was disseminated across WhatsApp groups, and every single family, targeted family, received it at home. That was one of the innovations we actually did. Oops. We also understood that people are more than usual time spending next to TVs, public TVs right now, because most of the free classes and lessons were broadcasted via the TV channels and online channels. And all family were sort of pushed because of quarantine and lockdown, because of restriction of movement. Families were spending more and more time in front of TV screens. And we engaged national TV channels we use them as a platform to create and disseminate key behavior change messages, where we engaged famous local doctors and professors who've been talking and disseminating same messages what we repeated through the WhatsApp and Facebook groups. They repeated through the national TV, making sure that it's a simple language, understandable language, and it's presented from a very, very recognized expert across the country. And these messages were free of charge, broadcasted on a national TV channels. We prepared for this time period 4 different programs with different different level of people engaged and broadcasted across the country. One of the key components of the program is promotion of literacy for our primary grade students. And normally it was done by the monthly lessons observation by trained teachers, like master teachers who are coming to the classrooms and doing observations on and supportive supervision on spot to the teachers, how to handle classes for the primary grade students. When we had no this chance, we managed to put it into online platform. And when master teachers engaged with the teachers at school via WhatsApp platforms and with the students in a group WhatsApp calls, and you see a picture, very interesting picture, where master teacher with the regular teacher from school are talking to the students and their parents at the same time, where teachers is presenting the class, presenting the lesson to the students, but master teacher is providing supportive supervision and additional sort of messages directly to children and to parents. That online platform was very, very effective, and teachers appreciate them during this difficult time period where many of them never had similar experience on doing classes online. They were not left alone with their audience, but it was trained master teachers who were together with them conducting these classes. When official school year was over, when at the end of May, and students were sort of on a school break time period, but lockdown period in the country continues, and many of the children were just stuck at home with no possibility to go outside and to play and to be engaged with their peers as usually they were doing. We created another platform, as we call it, online reading camps, where first we engaged and developed video lessons to the teachers with instructions how to engage a group of children into online reading classes. Then we help these teachers to conduct these online reading classes in an interactive way. And that was done throughout the whole summer and during the July period, where most of the population in the country were seriously affected, psychologically affected, with the highest number of COVID cases for their neighbors, for their relatives, for their family members. But to support their mental status and psychosocial status, we managed to organize children at family level through online reading camps. Number of online reading camps took place during the summer period, and June and July were very seriously engaging cohort of children into productive reading activities. We distributed a lot of more than 80,000 books with age-appropriate pictures, very simple readings, and we disseminated them across the schools and across the libraries. But when most of the children were stuck at home and had no, libraries are closed, schools are closed, and not many families, particularly vulnerable and low income level families, were not able to buy any schools, and stores were closed. There were no businesses working. What to do? We started digitalizing the same books and put them free of charge on our Facebook pages and WhatsApp images. And this is the screenshot of one of our Facebook digital books. One of the books which we digitalized and put on a Facebook, who received the highest number of reposts and likes because it became so popular, and parents were engaged actively with the readings with their children because they were animated. It was with nice sounds and really easy to read and easy to understand for children. We understood it very well. Then whatever online activities, whatever online support we are trying to provide to the Ministry of Education staff, teachers, and their families, but hopefully the sort of peak of epidemic will be over, and at some point of time, students will be able to return to schools. And during whole summer period, we were working very closely with our school administration and local authorities on improvement of sanitation condition of the schools. And if previously wash at schools were very serious important component for us, and when we put a lot of efforts on introducing and putting more hand washing stations, primarily at the school canteen area, because that was the main area where our target population, our primary school children were entering, and we sort of worried about level of hygiene during the lunch period, or immediately before, for them to wash hands before the lunch and after the after lunch, after taking meals. But now the wash at school became important component for all students at school, not only students, for the administrators and visitors. And we help schools to establish additional hand washing station in the hallways at the entrance of school, to make sure that every visitor, every student, regardless of the age, will be able to wash their hands at the point of entry to the school. But this is quite an expensive exercise, and it took a lot of efforts for us in partnership with the school administration. For the beginning of a new school year, USDA, our donor, US Department of Agriculture, donated additional commodities for the Kyrgyzstan primary school students. We received these commodities, but we didn't know how many of the students would be able to re-enter the schools from September. And when Ministry of Education decided that only first grade students would be allowed to re-enter school, we distributed only 2 months portion of the commodities to the schools to make sure that students who are coming to the schools, regardless, is that only first graders, only second graders, they will have a chance to get a hot meal at school regardless. And this is what is going on right now. We are thinking and talking to the Ministry of Education about potential next distribution mode if Ministry of Education decided to reopen school for other students as well. We're going to continue our distribution to the schools. If Ministry of Education will decide that it's not possible to reopen school for most of the students, one of the second options for us would be considered as a take-home ration for families with targeted students. Government and US government and Kyrgyz government seriously considered this help during such a critical point of time period, really appreciated and tweeted about Mercy Corps Food for Education program globally just a couple of weeks ago. We were very pleased to see such a high recognition from the government side. But we as Mercy Corps really had a few lessons learned from our side, you know, how we did during this very difficult time period, what we gained as our practical experience, and what we're ready to share with our partners and peer agencies. We really paid off of the close collaboration we had with the local government. We worked very closely with the local government at each of the district level, as well as with the national government at the country level, at the national level. We worked closely before the COVID, and during the COVID time, it really was one of the key component or key elements where we had a mutual understanding, and government was engaged with all programs components while the crisis happened. They know exactly where we are, what we're doing, and how we can help each other. We believe that engagement of host government is absolutely critical for non-government agency as Mercy Corps is. Also, we know that trainings and workshops should have a flexible schedule and make sure that busy professionals as teachers at school or school administrations we need to make sure then whatever trainings and workshops, being to online or offline, would fit their flexible schedule, will fit their busy schedule, and would be supposed to be flexible from our side in order to get the most positive outcome. Washing schools is crucial. That was crucial before the pandemic because of the minimum hygiene standards for hot meal preparation, but it became a crucial during the pandemic and definitely should stay on the top of our agenda as well as the partners' agenda in order to make sure that all students, not only primary grade students who are primary beneficiaries of our program, but all students at school, all visitors who are coming to school, school administration, anyone who are entering school territory must have a minimum wash standard, minimum places where wash their hands properly with soap, with hand sanitizers. This is crucial for all time period. And of course, we cannot underestimate engagement of parents and community members, parents and extended family members who must be engaged into the crucial information related to child nutrition, child education, because at the time when schools are not functional and students are stuck at home, they need to get the same crucial messages which they're getting at school from their teachers. These messages should be repeated and accepted by the parents and community members. That would be really contributing to behavior change of the students. That is all from my side. Thank you very much. If anyone would have questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Uma. It is really a pleasure for us to listen to the innovations that you have brought about in the program and the wonderful work that Mercy Corps has done in an area which is really challenged by the pandemic. What is very interesting for us is to note that you have turned many of the challenges into opportunities. It's literally like what has been said, that never let a good crisis go waste.
Oh, yes.
I mean, some of the lessons that you've taken out from this, which you are proposing to incorporate into your regular programs, it just shows with how much empathy and how much innovation and ingenuity you're using everything that you have done through the crisis to not only improve the situation during the crisis, but also how it will improve subsequently. And I'm sure lots of people will have, lots of our listeners, panelists will have many questions regarding how you overcame some of those challenges. Because what you've done in using social media, using WhatsApp platforms, digitizing books, these are all things which we will be able to incorporate, I think, into our programs way after the pandemic, just because of the ease it offers in communicating. So Dr. Uma, thank you very, very much for this wonderful, exciting, innovative, ideas-filled presentation that you provided for us. Thank you very much. And we'll request you to stay with us so that you can address the questions that I'm sure will be coming at the end of the presentations of all the speakers. Thank you so much, Dr. Uma.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And with that, can I go on to invite Bangladesh? And from Bangladesh, we have George, who will be speaking to us. I might like to remind all our panelists and our viewers that we will be speaking to a Nobel Prize winner. The World Food Programme has just won the Nobel Prize this year for peace, and it is indeed a recognition of the wonderful work that has been done by the World Food Programme in the hotspots such as Cox's Bazar that have made them such worthy winners of the Nobel Prize this year. So, and I mean, I think all of us are aware that Cox's Bazar is one of the hotspots for so many difficult challenges that humanity is facing. And the great work that is being done by the World Food Program there is really something that is an inspiration to all of us. May I, with that, request George to come on and share the school nutrition operations in that very, very difficult and challenging place. George, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Deepaji. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yes, we hear you.
Can you see my presentation?
Yes. I mean, at the moment, yes, it started now. School feeding program
Okay.
during COVID-19. Yes.
Thank
Please,
you.
please carry on.
And good afternoon, everyone. This is George from WFP Bangladesh, and I have been working with World Food Program School Feeding since 2015. And then I have expanded this program in the refugee camps after this large influx of Rohingya refugees in 2017. And today I'll be talking about how we adapted our modalities in response to COVID-19 in the camps, but I will touch very briefly about what we are doing in the host communities in response to COVID-19. So before going to that, excuse me, I will share briefly general information with you for your knowledge that WFP started school feeding in 2001 as emergency school feeding, and then later expanded in other areas and worked closely with government of Bangladesh. And in 2010, as a result of that coordination, government of Bangladesh started school feeding program in poverty-prone areas project under Ministry of Primary and Mass Education. And now in 2020, school feeding program under that project covers 20% of the whole country. And in the host communities, about 3 million primary school children receives food from schools. And 20% of that receives cooked meals, and others are receiving fortified biscuits. And government of Bangladesh plans to bring all the school children under this program by fiscal year 2023 and 24. And in these Rohingya refugee camps, about 300,000 Rohingya children from more than 4,200 learning centers are receiving food every day. Before this COVID, they were receiving 50 grams of fortified biscuits from the learning centers. And in response to this pandemic, in mid-March, government of Bangladesh closed all the educational institutions in the country, and following that, the Refugee Relief and Repatriation Commissioner Office also closed all the learning centers in the refugee camps. And then we started working how we can adapt the new modalities for distribution in response to COVID. And then we worked with our general food distribution team, and immediately after the closure, within 3 months, in July 2020, we started distribution through our general food assistance outlets, and covered all the households in all 34 camps in Cox's Bazar. And I must mention here that we are doing this as blanket coverage method, and we are distributing 25 packets of fortified biscuits for all the households, irrespective of whether they have children in the learning centers or not. And then we established coordination with our DFA team and also the technical team, you know, the scope team, to create the vouchers for the school feeding entitlements. And then let's see how these are working. We have more than 500 refugee volunteers who are being engaged for receiving the biscuits, repackaging them from 100 packets in a carton to 25 packets for per household uh, for 1 month ration. And then during the distribution, the households came and with their food cards or e-voucher cards, and their cards are topped up and then verified and redeemed. And then once they're verified, their cards are verified, they receive biscuits from the outlets. And you can see the photos. And most important thing is during the distribution, COVID-19 prevention messages are being disseminated by our partners all the day, all the distribution days. And in all the steps, our partner staffs and who are involved in this distribution, they are maintaining the protection measures and hygiene practices. And I will touch very briefly what we are doing in the host communities during COVID-19. Immediately after the closure of the schools, WFP started working with government and developed a guideline for the partners how to distribute the biscuits at the doorsteps of all the children in the primary schools. And about 3 million students are now receive 50 packets at their doorsteps, and that is the ration for 2 months. And during the distribution at their doorsteps, their parents and the children are being aware. The messages of COVID-19 protection messages are being disseminated to aware them to be safe from COVID-19. And now you can see how this is being done in the field. The biscuits are being transported with local transports called TomTom, or these are battery run rickshaws. And you can see how these biscuits are being carried out to the doorsteps of the children. You can see in the hilly areas how they are carrying these biscuits, and also in the islands, isolated islands. And the other thing, the parents and the children during distribution, the messages, awareness messages are being disseminated. And also we have placing the stickers at the doors of all the children. And in addition to the biscuits, the children, they are receiving dates donated from Saudi Arabia, and also all the children are receiving 2 sets of masks in the WFP operated areas, and also in the Makovan Dole areas, children are receiving literacy materials, which includes story cards, their stationaries, worksheet, etc. And now our current status is we are working with government, and also supporting the agencies and government and the schools to prepare them for safe reopening. And in the host communities, 3rd round of biscuit distribution is going on, and in the camps, 5th round of distribution is ongoing. And we are doing post-distribution remote monitoring, and we are working closely with GCNForum office and also government education officials to continue this distribution, and also on the safe reopening. And this is a summary of what we are doing before COVID, and what we are doing now during COVID-19. How we adapted the social protection. This is for your reference. And thank you. This is the end of this short presentation, and you can see if you have any questions even after this session, you can communicate with me and also with Kathleen Bess, who is the National Coordinator of the School Feeding Program in Bangladesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. That was really informative and definitely helps us to appreciate the challenging conditions in which you people are working, and how valuable even this support of biscuits would be to people who are living in the camps and in the host communities, including how you've made the changeover from pre-COVID times to now during COVID, and dealing with the pandemic and sharing information and knowledge in other ways which were not possible as it was in the earlier days. In the meanwhile, while people are preparing their questions to you, we already do have some questions to our earlier speakers, and perhaps rather than going on to the next speaker, and before we sort of come to you, George, with the questions, maybe there are a couple of questions to some of the earlier speakers, and can I then request if Karma and Dr. Uma can answer some of the questions. Karma and Dr. Uma, I hope you both are online.
Mr. Karma Wongchuk had to leave. He sends his regrets because he has other commitments, but we'll make sure the questions that are addressed to him get answered in another way or form.
Okay, so we had a very interesting question for Karma from my old friend Pete. Hi Pete, how's everything? The question that Pete had is with regard to how did they manage that children from different age groups, would they go home and stay with their families, or coming in back to school? How were they dealing with quarantine, and how all these kind of issues were managed? How school children were shifted from at-risk areas to boarding schools in the center of the country. So quite interesting questions, and quite specific to Bhutan. So we will actually need somebody from Bhutan, Karma, or someone from his team to answer those questions. They are really interesting questions. And in the meanwhile, for Dr. Uma, there are, of course, there is a request to get your email so that people can be in continuous dialogue with you to ask some of the questions that are bothering them. But in the meanwhile, many congratulations for the excellent presentations for all the speakers. The question to Dr. Uma, if you could answer that now perhaps, is how did you ensure that the take-home rations were properly utilized and were consumed by children in the right quantities, not used by other family members, etc.? So that is one question, and there was another question to you, but maybe we can reserve that for later. Thank you so much. Dr. Uma, would you like to come on?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks for your question, and I'm definitely ready to share my email address and contacts. Would be happy to provide more direct questions or engaged intercommunications and share our lessons learned. I will. I'm not sure. I will just type. Probably it's on a chat box, and my email address could be disseminated.
That would be very useful. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do it. We'll do it immediately. Regarding to the take-home ration, that is very good question. And we as Mercy Corps, we never had a previous experience with take-home ration distribution in Kyrgyzstan. That was very new experience for ourselves. And we've been engaged in a close coordination with a local and district level authorities and school administration to make sure that, first of all, it's properly even repackaged. It's repackaged with all the hygiene standards. It's repackaged in the right quantities. Here in the country, Ministry of Health have a very specific calories requirement per child per day, and we help our school counterparts to make sure that repackaging was done strictly following this Ministry of Health regulations. But once repackaging was done, And once distribution initiated, we, at the family level, we don't have any mechanism to make sure that it's only our targeted child receive this particular home ration. It is not possible because children are living in the families, and normally family meals are prepared for any food commodities that are coming to the family. But what we know that vast majority of our schools, if not all of them, like 90+% of the schools which were targeted through the program, they are located in very remote areas of Kyrgyzstan, which by definition is mostly populated by very vulnerable families. Meaning most of our targeted children whom we are targeting at schools, their whole families are in the list of vulnerable with all the government related vulnerability criteria. Most of them are members of these vulnerable families. That's why we could not, as Mercy Corps, we had not a moral obligation. We could not say that this is going only to the child, but not to the whole family. We couldn't do it. We just make sure that a family understand that this is coming because of the child. It's a primarily it's given to this particular child, and family is prepared this meal using all the ingredients, all the commodities which we provide on the most healthier way. That's the only way we could, we could contribute to the family meals, where children are included. But that's why it was very, very important for us to engage parents and extended family members and community members into SBC activities for behavior change. Then they understood then whatever take-home ration families receive, primary beneficiary or primary person whom it's donated, it is this particular child. If whole family using it, we cannot really stop them to do it. We understand that whole family has a very difficult financial situation, and food prices in the country rising up, and it's a serious burden, serious economic burden for all the Kyrgyzstan citizens right now. But vulnerable families in remote locations are specifically vulnerable to this situation. That's why for take-home ration, for the take-home ration distribution, which we did during the April-May period, we as Mercy Corps only managed to monitor through our specific remote monitoring mechanism. Then children distribution was done to the families with that particular child as a member of the family. But how it was distributed among family members, we don't know.
Thank you so much for that useful information. I also like very much the empathy with which you have explained it. That, I mean, if there's a ration coming into a family and the whole family is poor and vulnerable, then the best way is to provide SBC to understand how more vulnerable the child is compared to others, but then to not be rigid about any of this, and to understand and to have a heart and a mind that takes care of these issues. So thank you so much, Dr. Uma, for that. I will quickly take the opportunity of thanking Dr. Uma, but in the meanwhile also requesting Kunari to come on and share with us her experiences of Thailand, which has had remarkable success with school feeding as well as in other social sector programs. So it will be very interesting to hear from Dr. Ari, from Kunari. But Kunari is going to also show us a very interesting video, I understand. Sawadika, Kunari.
I'm Ari Pongrin, Director of Watungkok Suwan Satukit School. The school is from kindergarten 1 to 9 to grade 9. There are 700 students and 31 teachers. During the pandemic of coronavirus in Thailand, it was a school break. Students stay at home to avoid coronavirus. The school starts a new academic year on the 1st of July, which was late by 2 months. My school followed the Ministry of Education policy about the coronavirus protection. For example, the first step, teachers check student temperature before entering the school. The second step, all students have to wear the face mask studying in the school. The third, everyone have to wash their hands with soap or alcohol gel frequently. The fourth, everyone has to do social distancing for 1 to 2 meters. The fifth step, students don't use things with other people. The sixth, students cannot do activity with other people. My school proceeds to policy of the Ministry of Education and follow 1. Arranging students for class not more than 20 persons. There is a teacher taking care in the class and has to do social distance about 1 to 2 meters. Teacher and student must wear the face mask when teaching. The teacher must clean everything that was used by students every 1 hour. 2. We have social distancing in the lunch time. The students sit 1 to 2 meters far from each other and expand lunch space to accommodate all students. All students wash their hands before having lunch. They have to use personal spoon. My school provides meal according to Thai school lunch program. This program helps the school arrange high quality lunch for students. It estimates cost and food ingredients for cooking ahead by NECTEC and Institute of Nutrition Mahidol University as a co-developer for school to arrange lunch for all students. Schools proceed by buying food ingredients and hiring a cook under control by nutrition teacher of school. The health worker always come and check quality and cleanliness of food. Food ingredients come from students. They grow vegetable and mushroom, less chicken, catfish, and frog. Sometimes food ingredients come from student parents. They are organic. They sell ingredients to the school run project through school cooperative. If food ingredients are not enough, we will buy more from the standard market. In the future, if coronavirus spread out again, school can provide education online for students at their home and pay money for lunch to eat at home. In the long run, there will be school campaign to students and their parents to grow organic vegetables to prevent the disease. Next, you can watch video of our coronavirus protection management and school run project.มีเสียงเหรอ
See, Joe, we are unable to hear the sound. Oops, we lost the video.
There it started.
Okay.
Mrs. Ari Phuongwarin, Director of Wat Tung Kok Suwan Satukit School. My school is from kindergarten 1 to grade 9. Teacher checks body temperatures for everybody who entering the school. Teacher and student have to wear the face mask and washing their hands with alcohol gel during in the school. In the class has been social distance about 1 or 2 meters. The student in the class is not more than 20 persons. In the classroom, we open the window to ventilate of the air after the class. My school supplies
Can you hear
fresh
the
juice
sound? Can you
for
hear the
all
sound?
students.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
To wear in the classroom. Students have to wash their hands frequently. Expand lunch space to accommodate students. The students in grade 7 to 9 bring the food for lunch from their home. My school provides lunch meal according to Thai school lunch program. My school, I link a cook for prepare and cooking. Food ingredients come from students. They go vegetables. Rare chicken. Go mushroom. Red catfish. And frog. Food ingredients come from student parents. And sold to a school cooperative. If food ingredients are not enough, we will buy from the standard market mall.
Thank you. The end. The end. The end video.
Thank you so much, Konari, for that absolutely fascinating presentation and video. Is there something you'd like to add now before we go on to the Q&A session? Konari? You're muted. Konari, would you unmute?
Oh, you finished.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was absolutely wonderful to see both the video and through your presentation how you explained to us how Thailand has been so meticulous in actually adhering to all the pandemic guidelines, to all the guidelines for addressing COVID, the social distancing, the face masks, the face shields, the hand washing, the importance you're paying for social distancing, uh, and also the importance of the school nutrition and how growing the vegetables and providing such good healthy food. I mean, just looking at that platter of Thai food made me remember all the years I've spent in Thailand and eaten that wonderful, nourishing, soul satisfying food that you eat there. And it's so good to know that the children there, despite the pandemic, have had access to this kind of care and this kind of quality nutrition. So thank you so much, Kunari, for being a standard bearer of this wonderful revolution that Thailand has been a leader in. Thank you and congratulations. Thank you so much. Now, I'm just going to go back to all the speakers. We'll quickly go through the questions and see if there's anything. We have very little time, but we would really appreciate if our speakers would respond to a few questions that are out there. I'll quickly go through them and I'll see if there's anything that we could ask while we still have time. So one of the questions is with regard to non-primary school children and how school meals, school nutrition program, as well as other inputs have been provided to non-primary school children. If any of the panelists would like to address that, that would be very interesting. Thank you. And I'd request all the panelists to start their videos, but keep themselves on mute till they have to actually speak. Is that right, Mamta? Would you confirm that? Thank you.
Correct.
Yeah. So question to the panelists. Any of the panelists could help us answer that. The problems with regard to addressing the nutrition and other needs of non-primary school children.
I'm from Sri Lanka, and we are targeting not only the primary grade, and always we are targeting for the vulnerable groups. And if the students in the grade 6 to 13, but in the vulnerable area, and already we covered under the school meal program or a school meal program. And the other study packs also, we identified their facilities, if they have the TV facilities or internet facility. If they haven't anything, then we will give study pack for the vulnerable groups, the primary as well as the secondary grade.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ms. Renuka. That is very, very useful information. I think the next question we probably have to address to George, and this is with regard to the difference in the programs, if any, with regard to the ones being implemented by the Ministry of Education with the host communities and the ones being implemented by WFP. And what was the complementarity or differences in the two programs? So George, if you'd like to address that one, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dipaji. Yes, I understand the question is for Bangladesh. There is no difference because as I said, school feeding program is being implemented under the project of the government that is named as a school feeding program in poverty-prone areas. So all the operation, whether it is being operated by WFP or by the government, all the areas are under that project. But yes, there are some, there is no difference, but we have McGovern funded literacy activities, which is being implemented in 2 sub-districts of Cox's Bazar. That is different from our regular school feeding activities. And also in the camps, that is emergency school feeding that is being implemented, run by World Food Program, not directly by the government. but the modalities and the other thing is same in government areas and also in WFP operated areas. When we started this home delivery modalities, that was started in all 104 sub-districts in Bangladesh. So it is not, there is no difference. When we started together and under the same guideline developed jointly by WP and government of Bangladesh. I think I could answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, that's very useful and really clarifies the situation that basically it is the same program, but being implemented by different agencies. And I think all the programs are effectively complementing each other. So maybe you're doing some gap filling as well. There is one question which is specifically addressed to Dr. Uma. And the question is with regard to feedback from primary stakeholders with regard to any complaints that might have been there, because you ran the program so extensively using technology and using social media. The question that's coming to you is that how did you address any complaints that might have been there with regard to coming from your primary stakeholders with regard to the school feeding program, or maybe even the other extension of the school feeding program in various aspects of it that you carried out so extensively and so efficiently, as a matter of fact. So Dr. Uma, please.
Yes, thank you for your question. Mercy Corps has a requirement for the minimum quality program implementation, which we implementing at every country for every program, so-called Community Accountability Reporting Mechanism, CARM system. And in Kyrgyzstan, Mercy Corps have the same CARM system as in many other places every Mercy Corps program have. CARM system is allowed us to provide as minimum as 3 or more different vehicles, so different mechanism with direct reporting. It could be complaints, or it could be feedback, it could be, positive messages, appreciation messages, where we have a separate phone line, separate email account, and separate line, internet sort of social media line, which are coming. We distribute widely this information across the country. This is direct Mercy Corps contacts with everyone, any family member, any school kid, or any school administration, or any government official can contact Mercy Corps directly, being with complaints or with just general feedback. And because we're using so widely social media approach, we're getting a lot of immediate feedback, like immediately during the WhatsApp group conversation or during the Zoom meeting or Zoom workshop. We're using question answer session for any online platforms, and we're getting immediate feedback if something goes wrong, or positively if something is really exciting for our audience. That's a normal sort of minimum quality program standards which we're implementing in Kyrgyzstan as well as in any other countries.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Uma. That's very useful. Also, in general, it's useful to see the level of contacts that you have anyway, not only with regard to complaints, but the active communication lines that you've established with the stakeholders. And that is a lesson, I think, for all of us. There is one very, very interesting message from one of the participants who's one of the listeners. I'd actually like to read that out because it really conveys the essence of the discussions we've had today. And this is from Mustafa, and he says, all the presentations are excellent. Congratulations to all the presenters. And this is a real good nugget of advice. Since this is a global pandemic, it would be ideal to look at an integrated approach to keep all the younger generation, primary and non-primary, to be active, I think to be active and to be looked after during the pandemic in the future. And the advice he's giving is, good luck, stay safe, keep in touch in the Asia platform under the facilitation of Madam Mamta. I don't think there's much more to add to that. Mamta has done a great job bringing all of us together, and I'd really like from the bottom of my heart to thank all the presenters for their excellent presentations and all the takeaways that we've got from this. It's going to enrich the work that we all are doing in our respective countries. And it's going to be, I'm sure, very useful. I think it's great advice too for us to continue to learn and continue to be in touch. In the meanwhile, there's just one more thing. And this is a special message for Renuka and for the Sri Lankan team for the wonderful work they've been doing. And I did think that it would be important to note that. Not that it makes the contribution of all the other panelists and the work they're doing any less, but it's really gratifying for all of us to know that in these difficult times, there are people like yourselves, stalwarts, who are going on with the business of providing health, happiness, nutrition, education to our future and to the leaders of the next of the world as we'll see it when these children grow up, and that this pandemic shouldn't give them a handicap that they'll never recover from. So thank you very much. And with that message of gratitude and with that message of learning from what you have told us today, I'd just like once again to thank all of you for your time and for your work. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mamta, for bringing us together.